Hello and welcome to Soul Love with Shyness. I am Kim van der Zande, your host, and I'm super excited to share another episode of Soul Love with you, where we share inspirational and empowering stories from the heart. We talk about the beauty and the shadows as both are part of the ascension journey, to remind you that you are powerful, you are magical, and to have trust in what you feel to be true deep within. Enjoy this next episode of Soul Love. Before we start the next Soul Love conversation, I want to invite you to check out my amazing book, Activating the Flower of Love, a sacred guide for manifesting your deepest desires and highest calling. This sacred book, filled with powerful tools and activations, will guide you to open your heart to the beauty and wisdom within you, empowering you to create the life you deeply desire from the foundation of love. You can find Activating the Flower of Love in all the major online and offline bookstores in ebook or paperback, or you can check it out through my website, shyness.nl, where you can also discover the different ways of working with me and the latest updates on new starting programs. Enjoy this next episode of Soul Love. Welcome, beautiful soul, to a new episode of Soul Love. And today I have the honor, and I'm very excited to share a sacred conversation with Paymen Lorenzo. And we already had a beautiful conversation almost 2 weeks ago. You can see it on Paymen's YouTube channel, because he is a very, I think a beautiful legend in the podcast world. And you are already, as we start this conversation, I want to celebrate you, because the moment we recorded our conversation, you had 301 podcast episodes live in the world, sharing your wisdom and beautiful conversation. So I welcome you in this space, and that it may inspire many. So
thank you very much. Pleasure all mine. Thank you for having me. Loved our episode. We did it, and I believe it was 297 or 298. That's amazing. I still can't believe it. But
no, it's beautiful, and you're up to you created a beautiful book, because your podcast is named Leaders with a Heart. So you created a beautiful first co-author book, and now you're launching in the beginning of the new year your second book. So it's beautiful, and it's really an amazing way how we get to share our wisdom and our magic and these sacred conversations with the world to inspire others. And maybe you want to share a little bit about your story, because before our previous podcast we had an introduction call together, and I really loved how you came into podcasting and what it did for you. And because I think you're a beautiful testament to just following your heart, and how it just, allows you to stand in your light and in your truth. And
absolutely. Thank you. First of all, I just want to correct one thing. Our episode was not episode 297, but 301. So 301 episode.
Yes.
So you're the first of the next 3,000 episodes. So very special episode. So, wow, my story. How long do I have?
Yes. Just share what your heart, because it was beautiful how the podcasting invited you. And I think maybe a little bit an introduction in that, but then also what it brought you, because I think it's very inspiring. Yeah.
All right. I'm a Canadian expat. I've lived in 14 countries.
Yes.
4 continents, speak 6 languages. And ever since I was a kid, when I was a kid, my dream was to become an astronaut, and then pilot. Pilot was my nickname growing up. Mm-hmm. And then, like most boys growing up in Europe, I grew up in the south of France. I wanted to be a football player. So that didn't go through. But anyways, I lived around the world. I've been blessed. When I was 14, my family moved to Canada. And as soon as I finished college, I started traveling, first with South America, Brazil, Argentina, and then the rest of the world. So it's been on my DNA. I think I was born that way, an adventurous soul. And I was just talking earlier today with a wonderful French guy that I met a couple of days ago on the way to Laos. And he's also just like me, traveling. He said, listen, I must have been, he was a former boat captain, yacht captain, traveling the world in the seas. I said, maybe me in my past life, I must have been a boat captain, adventurer, maybe, who knows, a captain on an intergalactic ship. That's how I see myself. And I see life as a journey, as a school, as a playground. I see life as a buffet, 5-star Michelin buffet, to try not only just the foods, but the experiences. I've done it all. With the traditional way, 10, 12 years corporate Canada. Then I worked. I had my first taste of the laptop lifestyle. A book changed my life. I was about to, back in 2007, 2008 spring, I was about to send my application to go to law school. One day during lunch break, I was working for the government. A book changed my life. It was The 4 Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. I ended up not sending my application to law school, to the incredible dismay of my parents. So I started my first business, and that took me around the world.
Yeah.
Tasting the laptop lifestyle that took me around the world. Then I worked in the oil fields as a redneck at minus 40, minus 55 Celsius. That's not Fahrenheit.
Wow.
And after that, I worked in China for a few years as a football coach. Finally, I reached my goal of getting paid for my passion, football. Mind you, the money wasn't a lot, but I went for the adventure. Yeah. I did e-commerce. Then when the pandemic started, I was living in Hong Kong, came back home. Then that's when I had my awakening, my spiritual awakening. I was never religious, but I always believed in God. Since the start of the pandemic, I had my spiritual awakening, and that helped me in a lot of ways to overcome some very difficult challenges. During the pandemic, my father was diagnosed with cancer, and he passed away a few months. It was very fast for him, unfortunately. Within 6 months, he was gone. And what really allowed me to not lose my sanity was actually understanding about, that we are eternal beings having temporary physical experiences. Just like at night, when you retire, you sleep. In the morning, you wake up, you have a brand new day. When I understood about past lives, future lives, seriously, Kim, that's what really saved my sanity in my life. And I knew that even though I may not be able to see my father, we'll be back together again. That's when things changed for me. I understood a few powerful principles. One of them that completely changed my life was understanding the tremendous power of questions and asking the right question. Before my awakening, when something bad happened to me, I asked the wrong question, which was, why me? What did I do to deserve this? Why is life so fair? Where is God? And we both know that complaining is not going to get you anything. It's going to create a self-fulfilling vicious circle of more negativity. And before you know it, you're into depression and suicidal. I've been there. It's very hard to get out of this. But since my awakening, I understood this notion alone completely changed my life and saved it and transformed it in many ways. And that's how I got into podcasting. I'm going to get into that. Now I'm asking, whenever something happens to me, even something tragic, like for example, my father passed away. I ask myself two powerful questions. What is this trying to teach me? And what is the lesson for me to learn to this? I used to be incredibly impatient, blowing up for no reason. And, I'm going to share a very personal story here. My father was twice my age, about 80, and he was extremely independent, extremely in shape. The summer before, when we went on walks, I had a hard time keeping up pace with him. And once he got the cancer, he couldn't even go from his bed to the bathroom. I had to carry him on my shoulder. And stupid me, when I played those in my mind, I was telling him, come on, hurry up. We don't have all day long to wait. And then I started to say, wait, slow down. This is a very sick man, potentially a dying man. I'm the firstborn son. My father was an archaeologist, geologist, very established, very successful in his field. He was always bringing me all kinds of incredible gifts from around the world. But the greatest gift he blessed me with was just before he left us, and that was he opened my heart. He allowed me to become more patient, more compassionate, more understanding. And back then, when I was going through that, I didn't understand it, but I was going through that. And now when I look back and I ask, what was that trying to teach me? What was the lesson for me to learn to that? And I understand now that this was trying to open my heart, teach me understanding, compassion, being more patient. So again, even in light of tragedy, heartbreak, whatever you're going through, sure, it hurts a lot when you go through them, but take a step back and ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? What is the lesson for me to learn to this? Another experience, back in 2019, I was in Hong Kong, trying to build a business. It didn't work out. I literally ran out of money. I was living on $20 US per week, and one of the most expensive cities in the world. If it wasn't for a friend of mine, Canadian friend, very successful real estate business owner, that let me stay at one of his flats for free for 1 year. Who would do that for you? More than family. And back then I had no money, yet it was some of my most happiest, fulfilling times of my life. Isn't that ironic? No money, yet you're happy, fulfilled. Why? Because I was hosting events. When I was in China, I was I'm a social guy. I love bringing people together. But I wasn't always that way. I was extremely shy. I'm going to get to that in a moment. Podcasting was what allowed me to overcome my shyness. But back to that, I was hosting an event. I was helping people, coming together. And, being at my lowest financially, yet being very happy, that taught me another powerful lesson. Again, what was I trying to teach you? You have no money, yet you're very happy, very fulfilled. That taught me that I don't need money to be happy. And when you get to that place, you become almost untouchable, invincible, not in a cocky and arrogant way,
No.
but in a self-assured, confident way. If a client tells you, I'm going to not do business, no problem. If you have a job, I'm going to fire. Okay, go ahead. I'm going to call the cops on you. Okay, here's my phone. When
There's
you do
no
that,
attachment. Like you let go of the attachment of your identity, of money, of the grip it can have on you. Yeah.
you take full control. You remove.
Yes.
You become you cannot be manipulated, controlled. You take the power away from people. Again, it's not in a cocky, arrogant way or negative,
No.
in a self-assured way. When you
Yes.
get to that place, you become invincible, untouchable. Oh, this person didn't renew the contract? No problem. Because when you've been in a place where you had literally $20 a week to name, and one of the most expensive places in the world.
Yeah.
One month you don't make any money, no problem. Because once you lived in that, you become very resourcul. And this is what life is about. I would not change that because I learned some of my most incredible lessons in those moments.
Yeah.
And again, Kim, it was some of my most happiest moments of my life.
Yeah.
I was meeting people, I was going out, having fun, hosting events. If you had met me in Hong Kong, if you see my profile picture, I was the guy with a hat and three-piece suit, but no money in my pocket. Only 2 people knew it. My friend that was allowed me to stay in his place, and my older sister, my brother, my younger sister, my father. They didn't know it because me as elder of the family, it's my responsibility to take care of them. And I've spent my life taking care of them. So my pride wouldn't allow me to let them know.
Yeah.
My father's, I never told him that I was in that position because he wouldn't accept it. But again, I would not change it because it was some of my most happiest moments. Again, the point is, 2 things. Ask yourself an empowering question, not a disempowering question. What is this trying to teach me? And what is the lesson for me to learn to this? And second of all, wherever you are, no matter how difficult, painful it might be, you are where you're meant to be. Don't compare yourself with others. The only competition is the version of you 24 hours ago. Your only competition, Kim, is the Kim of yesterday. My only competition is the Payman of yesterday. Don't compare yourself with others. Imagine you're on a highway and each car is in its own lane. You could just go to your lane. You're going to get to your destination. No problem. But the moment you try to convert someone else's car lane, that's when there's a problem. Don't compare yourself with others. Oh, he's got a bigger house, bigger car. She's doing better. No, it's gonna disempower you. It's gonna make you feel like it's gonna depress you. Don't do that.
Yeah, because it's again a source outside of yourself. And you also can't influence that. That is what I think is very inspiring in your story. Like in the challenges, you have chosen to see what is the gift, what is the message, what am I here to learn, and you've taken them with both hands, and you constantly say yes to experience of life, whether they are beautiful or they are heartbreaking, but you're making the best out of it, and that's a choice we hold, each and every one of us. And I think it's very inspiring how you've grown out of that, and how you now get to share that with others. And
you know, Kim, that's a beautiful way to put it. But when I was going through those challenges, I wasn't aware of that.
No, I know.
It's not that I had this wisdom. No. And now I understand that with my little understanding of spirituality, I understand that for what they truly are. But back then, I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? Why? What did I do to deserve this? I didn't kill anybody. I didn't rob anyone. Why am I going through this? Maybe past lives? I don't know.
Yes.
But again.
But what opened it for you then? That you started to ask questions, or that you started to, what was the one thing that sparked that?
Great question. So when I came back from Hong Kong, I will never forget this because I told you, I ran out of money. My credit cards were canceled. My credit was destroyed. I had to ask my sister to book me a ticket. I will never forget that day, Tuesday, February 25 of 2020, at the start of the pandemic. When I landed in Toronto, as a 39-year-old guy, I had $200 to my name. It's not a good place to be, but I knew I could get back. I had no idea how, but I knew I could get how. You know, another powerful lesson I learned that completely changed my life completely, and that is listen to that voice. Sometime you're doing something completely unrelated. You have an inspiration, a voice, a gut feeling, a hunch, whatever you call it. Listen to that. That's your soul talking to you. And our soul has 2 purposes: protect you, keep you safe and alive, and guide you to the next step of your journey. I was having lunch on a beautiful, warm summer day in 2020 with family, completely disconnected from business. An idea comes in, start a podcast. And it kept on coming for a few weeks. Long story short, October 2020, I started my podcast. And again, for a year, I had no idea what I was doing. Sure, I was having conversation, but I had no idea how to monetize that. And I was still broke. A year later, again, same scenario, having dinner with family, an idea, start an academy. What do you mean Silent Academy? Kept on coming for a few days, few weeks. Then, understanding the power of question, I started asking to people when I was getting on calls, just like me and you last week. So I asked them a powerful question, 2 questions. Do you have your own podcast? 99% would say no. I say, why? 3 reasons. I'm not a techie. I don't have the time. I don't know where to start. That's when it started to make sense to me. I said, wait a second. Would you be interested if I were to show you how to not only launch a podcast, but monetize it 30 minutes a day within 3 weeks to launch it? And after that, 30 days after to monetize it. So that you can share your story, display your expertise in order to connect heart to heart with your exact ideal audience without cold calling, without spamming, even if you have no existing audience. Would that be of something of interest to you? Yeah. I swear to you, Kim, I had 6 people that said yes in one weekend. I will never forget that weekend. Last weekend of November 2020. It was a long weekend. My sister and my father went to visit some relatives in another city. I didn't go because I didn't want to be a burden. I had no money. So I said, no, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to travel, work. I will never forget that. When they came back, my staff asked me, how was your weekend? I said, well, I just made $3,000. I said, what? Yeah. I said, how? I got 6 clients. I swear to you, she gave me the biggest hug ever. And that's what I knew. Wow. So 6 clients in the first weekend. And that's when I knew maybe I'm onto something. Yes, I started my little academy. Long story short, within the next 10 months, I was able to get 60 high-ticket clients with no ads, ad spend, no cold calling, no spamming, and all of that with a YouTube channel of less than 200 subscribers. Why? Because business is not a numbers game. Sure, numbers matter, but ultimately, it's a relationship nurturing process. Me and you, we do business with people who connect, relate, and trust. Let's say you're looking for a doctor, an accountant, or a baker, a mechanic. Sure, they all have the credentials, but the one you and me will do business is the one we connect the most as a person to person. If me and you, we don't connect human to human, I don't care who we are, we're not going to talk, let alone do business. Yeah. Once I understood that business, again, numbers matter, yes, but ultimately, it's a relationship nurturing process. So once I understood that, I applied to my podcast, try to know the people, get to build that trust, rapport. And once you build that initial trust and rapport, then they will ask you, so what about you, Kim? What do you do? When you tell them, hey, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Can you help me? Sure, let's set up a time to talk. There's no need for you to pitch, just to sell, to seduce or kidnap someone to do business with you. It's a natural, automatic, organic progression. That changed my life, got me into publishing. This is the first baby.
Yay! Yes.
A year ago.
Wow. A #1 bestseller, international, and now you're going for your second. Yes.
Yes. So this was launched a year ago, end of September of 2020, to celebrate the 2 years and 200th episode of my podcast. Now in January, I'm releasing volume 2, which is to celebrate the 3 years and 300th episode. Yes. And this is my 4th book. I did 2 as a contributor with Mary Gooden. She's my publisher, I think, for you as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing. Yeah,
she's amazing. She opened my eyes. I had a conversation with her back around May of last year. Said, hey, you're sitting on a gold mine. I said, what do you mean? You have this podcast? What do you invite these people to come share the story on your book? I said, wow. Yeah. That's a great idea.
Yes.
And that's long story short, so I've been doing. And again, but it all started because I asked an empowering question. The question I asked once I understood that I would be in Canada for longer than I wanted to be, asked myself, what can I do now? It's going to allow me to do the 3 things I love most, which is inspiring people and empowering people and connecting and bring people together. And what can I do that's going to be fun, that's going to allow me to have an impact. Good. That's when the podcast.
Yes, but you followed your inspiration, because a lot of us, when we're when we're open to it, we receive inspiration, but then people find that all the limitations and they start to think about it, and suddenly it's unpractical and all of that. Because that's what I also want to share in your story. Like, you started it without knowing how to create a podcast or anything. You just said yes, just like me a year ago. I also said yes, and through saying yes, we learn, we grow, we expand. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just us saying yes to this initial inspiration. Because also in the beginning, you shared a little bit that you, from yourself, were very shy and now you have hosted 301 podcast episodes, shared your story and co-created with many beautiful souls. Yeah.
I used to be painfully shy. Yeah. 2 things helped me overcome my shyness. 1, being in China. For anyone who hasn't been in China, imagine being surrounded with a sea of people, yet being completely isolated. You can't read anything. You can't understand anything. It's very, very, very humbling as an experience. Yeah. Even something as simple as eating, ordering at a restaurant. Yes. Everything is in Chinese. I never forget the first day I arrived. with a colleague, went to a restaurant. Of course, I just arrived, don't have a SIM card yet. I don't speak a word of Chinese and don't speak English. I wanted some chicken. So what do you do? Puck, 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 puck. That's what I did. And for the side dishes, I just got up, went on the restaurant, started pointing. Tick, 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 tick.
I did the same. I took pictures, or I had a picture book, and I would.
No, I didn't. I was not that tech savvy back then. No. after a 14-hour flight and 3-hour train, I don't think I was. No. My friend wanted some crap, so he was able to, more ingenious. He got a napkin and a pen and started drawing it.
Yes.
So that allowed me to overcome. Yes. Oh, you have to listen seriously. You have to get out of your comfort zone to survive.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So one was your experience in China. And what was the podcasting too?
Podcast. Remember what I said earlier? Wherever you're now is where you're meant to be, and what you're doing now, where you're now, is preparing you for your next stage. And I was talking about this constantly with people on my podcast. You can, me, or anyone. If you look at the main phase of your life, you put them on a board. Sure, at the time they're completely unrelated, but if you look at them, there's a big denominating factor, common factor was, what did you learn in that way? Okay, and how did you use that lesson or that skill for the next? Yes. So me being shy and overcome my shyness, that allowed me to get into events, hosting events. First was helping, then hosting, then speaking. That prepared me for podcasting. Yeah. I always loved writing books, but I never thought I could do it. Mary opened my eyes. Now I'm becoming publishing, and I'm going to take publishing even more seriously, writing my own book now.
Yes.
So again, it prepares you for your next stage. Here's a fun exercise for everyone listening to it. On a piece of paper or even on a board, map out the main phase of your life. Let's say from when you're growing up, teenager, high school, first job, whatever.
Yeah.
And ask yourself, what did you learn? And how? And you will see it once you put it on a piece of paper on a board, how they each interconnected. And that's magical when you see it that way. You see a progression, even though they're completely unrelated.
Yeah. But it's still being, again, open in the questioning. So instead of putting things in boxes, or that was just a solo incident or something. No, like there's nothing is isolated through your life. Nothing is ever random. It's seeing the greater picture and asking open questions so that the answer can come your way. Yeah, I think that's beautiful.
Put yourself open. Number one tip I would give is to ask yourself empowering questions. What is this trying to teach me? And what is the lesson for me to learn today? Yeah. And always, always, always listen to that voice. Because that voice is soul talking. Society, school, religion, they always tell us the opposite. Seek expertise from outside. Sure, there's a place for that, but ultimately, the ultimate wisdom is within you. If you can tap into the endless wisdom of your soul, of the universe, of the Akashic record, that's next level, then you don't need any external experts. No, sure, it's good to get their opinion, but ultimately, you have access to all the information.
Yes, I love that. And I think the beautiful thing, I think you just shared amazing gems. And I think for everyone tuning in, take them and listen to them. It's truly about asking questions and listening to this inner voice that has always been there, but now it's time for you to say yes. But I think it's also beautiful. We shared in a previous conversation together, like the beautiful thing about podcasting, or there's truly a gift of sharing these sacred conversations and the short connections we have before and after the call. And it's truly about relation building and the beautiful souls we get to meet. But what I loved about your story as well is that you shared in all these 301 episodes, like there were beautiful teachings also for you to receive, and how it just again, it's trusting the people that are coming on your path for a reason. And it's not only for the podcast, but it goes beyond that. It's I think that's
Kim, that's a powerful point. The podcast for me, when I started a podcast because I was bored. We live in a small town outside of Toronto in the countryside, so Canada half the year frozen, and the rest of the year, especially during the pandemic, Canada was one of the strictest countries in terms of regulations. At least in the countryside, it was more relaxed, but in Toronto, you could not get out. So for me, I had to find something to do, something productive. I don't watch the news. I don't watch TV. Maybe sometimes some sporting, some football. Yeah. But you're not going to spend 24/7 watching sports. So I wanted to, yes, I like talking. So in case I was getting on 5, 6, 7 Zoom calls every day. Yeah. And the podcast helped me tremendously in 3 ways. 1, overcome my shyness. Number 2, it was part of my spiritual awakening. And number 3, it was part of my ongoing education. I was having beautiful conversation with incredible experts in all areas of life.
Yes.
Where I learned about things I thought I knew, and most importantly, learning about things I had no idea even existed. So it was like getting like a PhD, like an MBA at Harvard every day with actual experts, with things I'm actually excited, not just because I have to for program. So podcasting completely changed my life.
Yeah, I love
I'm not even talking about the financial, just the other aspects. I used to be shy.
Yeah.
Made incredible connections, contacts, become a better listener, more interesting person, grow more. Yeah. I can talk for hours about that.
I love that. Yes. You're very passionate about it. And if I'm curious, the Academy, is that still there? If people want to start their podcast, then and I will share the link below this video or audio. You can find and connect with Payman.
I am, yes, I'd be honored to. I am revamping, rebranding it. My website is called leaderswithavoice.com.
Okay, great. Yes.
I'm changing it now to getclientspodcasting.com because this is more sexy, more in a way, and a more attractive, because show them how to get unlimited leads on demands by leveraging podcasting. Because again, at the end of the day, it's all about relationships, nurturing, connecting, building that. Especially if you're promoting high ticket offers. If you're selling a trinket on Amazon for $10, you don't need that. But if it's high ticket, it's all about relationships.
Yeah. I love that. If there was one more thing, like one advice, you already gave so many, but if one last thing you would like to share with our audience and in inspiring.
If I may, there's many, but what I would say is, again, I may be biased because I spent my life traveling. I was born in a family where my father was an archaeologist, geologist. My mother also was very adventurous.
Yeah.
But travel, see the world. There's been not a better place than now to travel, especially if you're blessed to be able to make money online. You will be incredibly surprised that you can live an incredible quality of lifestyle outside of the Western world. I'm living in the picture behind you. That's not a random picture from the internet. That's a swimming pool of the place I spent 6 months of this year in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. Yeah. One of my most favorite places in the world. In Toronto, to give you an idea, and I was living in a family, so I had no major expenses. I was spending $4,000 a month without leaving the house. Without leaving the house, barely covering basic, just to have a place to sleep, basic groceries, forget about eating out. Forget about social life. And Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, living in the heart of Kuala Lumpur, you can see the Twin Towers behind me, all of that, 10-minute walk from it. This place on Airbnb month to month was $850 US a month, including utilities and once or twice a week maid cleaning, eating out all my meals.
Yeah.
I wasn't bootstrapping. I was living my life comfortably. $2,000 US a month. Just half of what I'm spending in Canada. Now I'm in Vietnam. It's even better. In Vietnam, I am struggling to spend $1,000 Canadian, which is $750 US, which is like €650 a month.
Yeah.
Can't even get the dogs shed in Europe or in Canada for that amount.
No,
I'm living by the beach.
The food is so good. I loved Vietnam as well. I love a lot of Asian countries. I traveled a lot there as well. But it's such a
Go travel, see the world. Again, it's not about saving a buck, but it's about drastically elevating the quality of your lifestyle. And in Canada and the US, Western Europe, you have to generate a certain amount of money, say over $5,000 minimum, just to have a roof over your head. So it's a lot of pressure. Whereas in here, I'm a single guy, so $1,000 in Vietnam, $2,000 in Malaysia, whatever. If you do online, that's not easy. That's not hard to achieve.
No.
Again, it's not about saving a buck. Yes, that helps. It's about drastically elevating the quality of your life, but also see the world. You would be surprised. People are incredibly friendly in Malaysia and Vietnam, everywhere. Yeah. You know, people are people everywhere. Doesn't matter if they're Chinese, Afghan, Brazilian, Portuguese, Norwegian, whatever. People are people. Yeah. Respect them, they will respect you. They all want the same thing. That's it.
It is. Yeah. And it opens your perspective. It opens your way, because of what I also love is like the sacredness, and there are beautiful temples to visit and all of it. But it opens your way of like, there are so many different gems around the world and so many different things to discover. And I think that's beautiful.
You know, I would tell people, close your eyes, take a map of the world, throw a dart, and just go. Be adventurous. Maybe that's a bit extreme, but
but it can also already be like, if you don't have that at your at your disposal at this moment. Say yes to your inner guidance. I think that's also beautiful. And as because I think what I love in your story is you're saying yes to the experiences. So you get an invitation, and even though you don't know what it will bring or where it will lead you to, you're saying yes. You're so confident within yourself that you're just saying yes to adventure, yes to life, yes to new experiences.
Yes,
And I
to
think
life.
that's the invitations. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Another thing, if there's anything that you always wanted to do, but you've been pushing it away because you don't have maybe the time, commitments, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yes.
All want, especially if it's something that you keep hearing. Wait, the microphone just disconnected. Especially if it's something that, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can still hear you. Yes.
Okay. Keep on hearing. Hey, listen to it. That's your soul talking.
It is. Yeah, I love that. That's a beautiful thing to close with. Yay. Yeah, you're back. Thank you for sharing your story. I will also share his podcast link here below, so you can find the 302, I think, at this moment, but it depends on when you're tuning in because he's going with the speed of light. So I would say
I'm going to be releasing right after this call, episode 303. I have 304 for tomorrow. So I'm always looking for people we all have inspiring stories. I'm looking at this time for people who have goosebump inducing stories to showcase them in my podcast and eventually in my book. So if you have a goosebump inducing stories, I'd love to connect with you to get to know you, to showcase your story on my podcast and
amazing
beyond.
Okay. Thank you for sharing the sacred conversation. Everyone tuning in, wishing you a beautiful day, evening, wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you in the next Soul Love podcast. So for now, much love. Bye.
Where's all mine? Thank you.
Thank you for joining this episode of Soul Love. If you want to find out more about what we do, you can find it below. And I'll see you in the next episode. Much love.